Welcome to the 7th episode of Mol België Season 14 Recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Armstrong, and not joining us this week is the Canadian who has genuinely been sent to The Hague after the incident, Logan Saunders. But still here is the guy who once tried claiming that he was offering taste of his milk for a viral challenge, David Bindley.
Yes, hi, hello. Oh, fuck.
And that gave a whole new meaning to the word viral. Saunders has missed such a fun episode here.
I know.
And a preemptive non-apology to Fuzzy, because we are going to be doing the usual joke of tricking you with the banner tomorrow.
What a shame.
Have you had a good week?
Yeah, not too bad. Nothing really major happened. Kind of started working on the update for the challenge guide, but that's about it.
We were saying before we started recording, I'm at the point of the season where I'm like, shit, I'm going to Belgium in 4 days. I've now got to start thinking about what I'm going to be saying to people. Bollocks. So, on that note, please send some questions in so that you don't get us being awkward and rambly as always.
I'm sure you will be.
And obviously, disappointing that Isabel's gone this week, but still riding the high of probably being right with Wout in my team at least.
Yeah.
And then occasionally life sends you a curveball, like the message I had off my GPs whilst I was shopping yesterday, because I was feeling really good about myself, and then I got the following message. Dear Mr. Harvestone, our trusted partners Panthera clinical research are looking for volunteers to take part in a weight loss study testing an investigational GLP-1 injection. I'm like, am I getting messages off my GP now calling me fat? Because last time I went for a health checkup, I was very much not fat, thank you. It's a little bit judgmental.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it, but...
I mean, most people can. It can be seen from space, but that's beside the point. Who on earth thinks it's a great idea to send an anonymous alert from your GPs through the NHS app going, yeah, let's just target the people who we think probably are fat by now. We've not seen him in a little while. He's probably fat. Let's offer him a new version of Ozempic that might kill him. This episode was a very... I don't want to use the phrase that Fuzzy's going to put on the bingo card, but it was a very us episode.
Yeah. Like, I don't think there was a single thing in this episode that I didn't like.
Yeah. I mean, we knew about the fondling to random globe-shaped objects from the preview of this week, but we didn't know about the 100 children, which was just the most ridiculous thing they've ever brought out. Conveniently then followed by a fucking peregrine falcon. And then, yeah, the one-syllable drop tower, which, spoilers for later in the episode, no, never going to happen.
And, you know, that's completely ignoring, is it cake, the ball game, the viral challenges, the milk spitting, the human surfboard, the followers.
This was a very silly show this week.
Yeah.
Even by the standards of this show. So, previously, the group chose how to spend their afternoon in Lisbon, either by making pastel de nata or by racing the iconic yellow tram. Julian and Wout chose to use their hands, but they proved not to be too handy as they let their time run out before they could make the pastel de nata. Isabel was left behind on the tram, but Maxim and Yanis 8 ran and quizzed their way to €1,900. At a fight in a bull ring for the only exemption of the season, Wout and Maxim reached a stalemate, letting it blow up in their faces, while at the execution, Yanis was left behind as the final four made their way to the Algarve. And we begin with the B-roll scene of them all in the church, and Gilles telling us that only 4 remain. Isabel is determined and stands her ground, but not too steadily. Maxim is a driving force and a man of principles and noble intentions, but is that the sort of person who should be followed? Wout is the big friendly giant, a reliable friend, but does he deserve that much trust? Or is it Julie, a spirited foal? Saunders, again, disappointed to miss this episode. Bubbly, carefree, and playful, except when it comes down to it. There's only one mole, and not much time left to unmask them.
Not to lead you even further down the tunnel, all aboard choo choo, etc. But did you notice that when they were doing the Take On Me animation thing, the other 3 people all spoke in their clips, but Wout didn't?
I did not clock that now.
Like the little clips they animated, the Isabel one has Isabel speaking, the Maxim one has Maxim speaking, but the Wout one doesn't. The Wout one is other people talking about him.
Interesting. It was very interesting on Café de Mol that one of the panelists pretty much said what I've been saying about Wout all season, in that he's always in a hero position and he never makes money from a hero position.
Yeah.
That was said repeatedly this week, which I thought was very interesting. Also, Café de Mol had a very, very, very good lineup this week, because it was Baha and Lloyd on the contestant table, We
Yep.
had Isabel's daughter Anais and Annalise on the meme table. Unfortunately,
Mm.
Annalise didn't speak because we love Annalise.
Hi, Annalise.
Also visible were Michelle and Pasquino, Philip off of Germany, and Robin as well from
Oh.
South Africa. So it's a pretty good lineup of contestants visible on the Café de Mol this week.
Now, when you say visible, I assume you mean visible to somebody who isn't Pascal.
Yeah, obviously. Nothing really to mention from the behind the scenes this week, although it was still very fun. If anyone from production is listening to this and there's a non-zero chance, please keep doing the behind the scenes every year because it's fascinating. And
Mm.
genuinely, it's like 10 minutes of my time, and I very much enjoy the behind the scenes being provided.
Oh.
Obviously, they did the ball guessing game, and obviously, they mentioned Lloyd's wonderful free fall from the Mexico finale, which is still one of the funniest things they've ever done.
Yeah.
So it is day 15, and they are on the way to the Algarve, and they dance to Dancing on the Ceiling, and they are driving to their final part of the season.
It's so nice to get a Vidum Georgia shout out on this show.
There was some very good music in this episode, and also Jess Glynn Hold My Hand, which was a great song in 2015, but anytime you fly on a Jet 2 flight, you hear that fucking song or the intro to that song, and every time there is an ad, you hear the intro to that fucking song. So it drives me nuts.
You know the rule, Michael. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday.
The fact that they referenced that this week. I know it was like a meme last summer, and the woman who does the Jet 2 voiceovers was genuinely doing appearances last summer.
Yeah.
But it just really, really made me laugh that they did take off of that this week.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure that was just for the British audience of this show.
Yeah. Like I know we've pointed out sort of how good all of the challenge moments is. I think the funniest thing in this episode is Isabel treating this break at the gas station like she's applying for permanent residency in the snack zone,
Well, the best thing is, they got Isabel some Filipino cookies for Café de Mol.
baby.
They presented her with a pack of them, and she said, "Oh, it's the white ones. They're the best ones." I know I've been spending weeks like crossing everything that Isabel would be in the final three so we could meet her, but everything in the behind the scenes and everything in her appearance on Café de Mol made me absolutely gutted that we don't get to speak to her because she seems like a delight. There is an argument that she might be the best older woman we've ever seen on Belgian. It's her or Annalise, definitely, in terms of entertainment value.
Not Hilda?
I actually think I like Isabel more than Hilda.
Wow.
It's close, but Isabel is just genuinely batshit insane, I think. I mean, spoilers for the Diary of a Mole episode next week. I am going to try and at least say hello to Isabel if I can. If I can accidentally bump into her like I did with Hilda last week. But she is a contender for the best older woman we've ever seen on this show, I think.
Yeah. Do you think Isabel would have tried to honk a car horn with her ass?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot of the Isabel discussions on Café de Mol, especially being like, is she actually like that in real life? And she's just like, yeah, I went into this knowing that I was going to try not to sabotage because I wasn't the mole, but naturally I am a little bit suspicious.
Yeah.
So they stop at a service station. Isabel empties the entire store, and it did also make me laugh that there was a pastella in the service station because, of course, there was. It's Portugal. And Isabel spills coffee down herself, as does Maxim, and Maxim's wearing a white t-shirt. And they meet Gilles at a football field, and today it's all about the most famous Portuguese man in the world, Ronnie to his friends, but we know him as Cristiano Ronaldo.
Seems like Magellan should be offended by that.
Yeah, they've not done a Magellan challenge yet, have they?
No.
Maybe next week.
Yeah.
They won't be facing him, but 100 future Ronaldos, and they will be playing a match against the 100, and if they win, they will earn €4,000. All they can do to level the playing field is to eliminate their opponents. To eliminate 5 of the goalkeepers, Wout has to head the right ball into the goal under Julie's instructions. The intro of the Bangles song, Walk Like an Egyptian, plays, and she has to identify which of the 3 flags it relates to. It's either Germany, the US, or Egypt.
How has she never heard of this song?
Especially when She has a really good song choice from basically the same era later in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, Isabel compliments her on her musical knowledge later in the episode, and she doesn't know Walk Like an Egyptian.
Like it's not even like it's that obscure a song, really.
No, I don't think any of the songs in this episode are that obscure.
Hmm.
And we get a lot of songs in this episode, to the point that, for the first time, to my knowledge at least, they actually credit Sony Music at the end of this
Wow.
episode.
Maybe they had to credit them to use one of the songs or something.
I presume so, but I can't remember another time that they've actually credited
Hmm.
the record labels before. There were 4
Yeah.
credits in this episode, and obviously BMW. There was the football club. There was the random Portuguese bike shop that they hired the bikes from, and then there was Sony Music.
Yeah.
Interestingly, they did not credit either whoever provided the cycling kit or the Belgian company that provided the 100 children-sized football kits.
I mean, to be fair, I think footballshop.be did get quite a lot of promo.
It did, but usually they put them in the credits as well. And we did actually find out from the behind the scenes that those are official Belgian football shirts that the Flemish were wearing,
Yeah.
personalised and everything. So she doesn't know that it's Walk Like an Egyptian, and she picks America, and wow, ends up heading the wrong football, and as a result, it's cake.
Perfect, no notes.
Yep. I was not aware of the fact that that was going to be cake, and that really made me laugh.
I've got to stop watching like the previews at the end of the episode because like when these moments hit me, I just laugh so hard. And like I know they sort of edit around them in those previews, but like I think that this one made me laugh harder than anything has made me laugh all season.
Maxim's then asked which country, Italy, Belgium, or Spain's rain falls mainly on the plane. He says he doesn't know it, but still picks Spain, and Isabel ends up heading the right ball, and 5 goalkeepers are eliminated. Apparently, that proverb does also work in Dutch.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't know it, but at least he's smart enough to like identify the flags, which is more than we'd get from an American contestant doing this.
Yeah, I mean, James Wallington still hasn't played on the floor with the category country flags yet, so we don't know what his knowledge of country flags is. But I suspect most average Americans who would go on a show like this probably couldn't identify Egypt's flag, for example.
Yeah.
So to eliminate the outfielders, they'll have to be faster than Ronaldo, and Ronaldo is, of course, a bird of prey. Because it's this program. All they have to do to eliminate them is to score a goal before Ronaldo lands on the scorer's head. Maxim is the first to be landed on, with Julie dribbling the ball. Ronaldo will be released when Wout and Isabel choose the wrong type of balls that they're feeling from a blind box. Because again, it's this show. And they have 5 seconds each to identify the balls that they are groping.
How would you have done at this?
You're just saying that to stop me asking that question and you making a smutty joke.
Oh no, I'm good at groping balls, Michael. Let's get that clear.
I don't think I would have done brilliantly, I must admit. I think some of them are more obvious than others.
Yeah.
Baseball, fairly obvious. But I think one of the ones that Wout gets wrong is like a pickled onion, which he guesses lychee for.
Yeah.
I know it's this show, and I know they're going to go ridiculous, but pickled onion's probably not going to be your first thought.
Yeah.
My question, though, is have you ever had a bird of prey land on you?
Yes.
As have I. We were staying in Stellenbosch in South Africa, and
Yeah. A likely place for it.
yeah, right next door was a bird sanctuary, and they had an owl that landed on your head.
Oh.
So I believe, well, for years, my dad's Facebook profile picture was a picture that I took of him with an owl that landed on his head.
Huh. There's a theme park sort of on the outskirts of Melbourne that sort of started off as a zoo and then sort of got bought out, and then they've sort of bought the land next to it and put in like a water park and a couple of roller coasters. But I went down there a couple of years ago, and they're still keeping the zoo part. So like every day there's a show where they do all the the animal care sort of tips and all that sort of stuff, but then they show off the falcons. And I'm sitting, didn't know anything about it. I just sat down in the like next to the aisle, and right sort of in the middle of the show, the falcon basically just sprints straight down the aisle and lands on my shoulder.
Oh,
Yeah, it is genuinely terrifying when one of these lands on you.
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was terrifying for an owl to land on me, never mind anything else.
Hmm.
So Maxim manages to kick the ball just in time, and that eliminates 20 more players. Julie is landed upon as Ronaldo is faster than Wout, and he's also faster than Isabel, but not faster than Maxim. And that means the match will be played against 55 Portuguese kids, and if they win, it's worth €4,000.
I think my favorite thing about, feeling the nuts and the balls and everything, not so much like the actual joke, which is fine, but like when Maxim somehow gets olives and limes mixed up, which how he sort of just they cut away and they cut back. You notice he's just still fondling the limes while he's looking over at Julie. Like he's watching the Falcon fly over and he's still grabbing them trying to work out what they are.
Obviously, we're going to have absolutely nothing to say about the football match because I couldn't give less of a shit.
Yeah. My apologies to the football.
Yeah. I mean, we got into enough trouble with football chat with Jan last year. Not going to happen again.
No.
But interestingly, both Maxim and Wout seem to play for amateur teams. I don't know whether the voiceover was joking, but both of them seem to play football recreationally at least.
They do kind of really suck at singing the national anthem, though.
Yes, that is delightful. And in fact, Isabel got the words wrong again. She's called out for this on Café de Mol, much like she did with Drees's guitar / penis. She does get the wrong word for the national anthem
Huh.
at one point.
Is the national anthem in Dutch or French?
Looked like it was Dutch
Okay.
to me. I presume that it can be translated into French as well.
Okay.
I presume if there was a French-speaking contestant in there, as has happened before, they probably would have been able to sing the French words for it.
Yeah.
But I think everyone left is at least from the Dutch-speaking bit.
I did love that Julie was the goalkeeper and seems to have never even watched a game of soccer in her life. And I'm like, my people.
Yeah, this was mentioned on Café de Mol. Apparently, she said in episode 1 that she was a big fan of a football team,
Huh.
and yet she doesn't know what line a goalkeeper's allowed to go up to.
Hmm.
I don't know whether they were deliberately trying to make Maxim and Julie a bit more suspicious in this episode to give it some intrigue when everyone knows it's Wout.
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting episode. I have a theory on Maxim's spike in suspiciousness. Because, I mean, just to cut to the end of the episode, the Café de Mol suspicions this week, I think it was 35 for Julie, 34 for Wout, 31 for Maxim.
Wow.
So that was very interesting because Julie has been rock bottom with the suspicions basically since Abigail went home.
Yeah.
I don't have the previous week's suspicions to hand for Café de Mol at least, but she's been averaging like 11% the past 4 weeks. And she was on 35 this week, I think it was, for the Café de Mol ones at least.
Huh.
Obviously, this will come out before the actual weekly suspicions do. So
Yeah.
I'll be able to talk about that next week. But yeah, the Café de Mol ones were very interesting this week because nobody seems certain anymore for some reason.
Yeah. So not that much actually happens during the soccer game, but like it's kind of adorable and fun in a way the Vietnam soccer match earlier this year wasn't.
Yeah, I think it felt a lot more like the Portuguese kids were in on the joke a lot more.
Yeah.
As much as I don't want to go too deep into the Venom one because obviously it was quite heavily sabotaged, it felt like at least the parents of those Portuguese kids had been briefed on what the show was, what they were doing, what the joke was. And it was an actual, as you might have guessed, an actual proper amateur football club because they were also credited in the credits.
Hmm.
You do see a little bit of the behind the scenes of it being absolute carnage for production, trying to wrangle 100 kids and making sure they had 100 kids because they did have to count quite a few times. Yeah, it felt like they were a lot more in on the joke and they knew what the punchline of this was.
Yeah. It might have been carnage, but the rule about children are animals. So obviously, next time they do this, they're going to have 100 mechanical children.
Well, they did both in this one because they had the peregrine falcon as well. They worked with both children and animals in this one.
The only thing that really happens is like Wout tripping over half the children.
And half the children tripping over each other.
Yeah.
Because there's 100 of them, or there's 55 of them on the pitch. As much as I don't want to call him out for this. Thomas did send me a message as he was watching the first segment of this episode going, is number 7 going to be a clue? And I went back and looked at the Molbook numbers, and Isabel's Molbook was number 7. So I think
Yeah.
we can safely say at this point, wasn't a clue.
Yeah, I think I could be wrong because, me not knowing anything about soccer, but I think the joke was the future Ronaldo's, and I think that's Ronaldo's number.
Yeah, it is. I'm pretty sure he trademarked CR7. He certainly uses CR7 as a brand. It did then lead to some great jokes from the commentator being able to go, yeah, number 7 scored again. He's the standout player on this pitch. But yeah, Wout equalises. He's the only one who scores. 2 of the number 7s score, and it ends up as 2-1 after 10 minutes.
Huh.
And Jill brings them some beer and toasts the Portuguese players and the mole, of course. Wout cuts in line at the burger van, and him and Maxim convince the kids that they are professional football players.
I think the most impressive thing I saw in this challenge is Gilles coming over, like holding 5 beers in the palms of his hands.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the pictures. Gilles is not a small man. Gilles is, I think, height-wise between me and Saunders. He's probably about 6'3". Like, I could probably, not that I want to tempt fate and make Gilles test me on this, I could probably carry 4 beers in my hands, I reckon. Or 5 beers, whatever he carried. Yeah, I reckon I could carry at least 5. Because I've got pretty big hands anyway.
Show off. Is that because of all the ball fondling?
I mean, whatever training works is all I have to say. But yeah, this is not a challenge, Gilles. Do not bring me 5 beers and say carry these across the room, because I'll probably fail.
I love how they go through like a round of suspicions for this challenge, but because they don't want to make it look like anyone was sabotaging, like the soccer, every single one of them is like, yeah, we would have done better if there were less kids on the field.
Yeah. Do you think that the other 3 are all on the right mole now? And that Isabel went home because she knew the least, but was on the correct person?
Yeah. Like, because I think Isabel was definitely on WOW, at least from that time with the test a few weeks ago. So if she went home and she was on the right person, I would assume the other 2 have to be. And we know Maxim went all in, so he would presumably be on the right person because Wout and Julie did not have a lot in common this week.
Yeah, I presume Isabel went all in and just knew less, but she had copious notes. She wrote down everyone's song choices.
Yeah, and she said she thought she only got 1 wrong. So either the other 2 managed to get perfect scores, or Isabel was wrong about more than she thought, or Isabel was on the wrong person, which I'm not sure which one of those options is the most plausible at this point, but I cannot wait to find out.
Yeah, I think Who Suspects Who is going to be very interesting at the reunion this year, because my gut says that everyone after Yanis was on the correct person,
Yeah,
because it feels like they were a lot more confident. We didn't get many specific suspicions this week, which is usually the sign that everyone's on the correct person.
yeah.
So Gilles meets them at the coast and says they've been on the Algarve for a day and a half and not been to the beach yet, so it's time to change that. They'll be making money by taking the perfect Instagram photo, but they'll need to cycle there first, a journey of 17 kilometers.
Can I ask a stupid question about the morning scene?
Yeah.
How did we go from Wout complaining about his big toe being sore to him massaging Maxim's calf?
I mean, they've been together for 2.5 weeks at this point. They're very close.
Yeah,
And don't forget that Maxim didn't have a loved ones visit properly, and neither did Julie, so it's very convenient that both of them are the ones that are asking for physical contact.
yeah.
Isabel's like, I've seen my daughter, you don't need to touch me well. Also, who was your loved one again? I didn't care.
Hmm.
So if they make the journey successfully within 90 minutes, it's a guaranteed €1,000, and the photo will be automatically taken then. On the way, they can pick up certain objects which will give them another €1,000, the first of which is a kite, and to earn them, they have to take on viral challenges. Oh boy. Which challenges should they have done?
It depends how long they had to like sit through the song, I think. I don't think the milk was ever going to be possible. Like, I'm a barista and I couldn't have done that. So,
No. And also, the longer you do it, the more your taste buds are going to get coated in
yeah.
various types of milk and non-milk. So I think that one's hard.
Yeah.
I am slightly surprised that they didn't do a take on the ice bucket challenge, because that would have had the added effect of, if they were doing it lots, that would have been a very, very uncomfortable cycle. Even if they did it like 2 kilometers from the end, that would have been a very unpleasant cycle for them.
Yeah. I wonder how you'd even do the ice bucket challenge as like a pass fail sort of thing.
Maybe just as a consequence,
Hmm.
because the milk thing isn't a thing.
Yeah.
That is not a challenge. And it's certainly not called the Taste My Milk challenge, which is what was on that blackboard. Again, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Oh, of course they did.
The sign on the board alongside the 7 types of milk said, "Have a taste of my milk."
I can't believe last week we had Wout licking a book suggestively. And like that wouldn't even be in the top 5 most suggestive things in this episode.
No, this was utter filth, this challenge.
No wonder we loved it.
So the first challenge is the Whitney Houston challenge, and Wout must do the drum solo while Isabel sings "I Will Always Love You." After each mistake, they have to swap places. Oh, this is such a stupid challenge.
Was it I Will Always Love You they used for the silent disco thing in Vietnam as well?
I think it was, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is utter nonsense, and I do
Yeah.
wonder about the leniency on this. How much leeway they actually had on the drum solo. Because
Yeah.
obviously, a lot of these attempts were very, very, very wrong
Yeah.
because they forgot there's a massive gap. So they finally get it with 63 minutes left on the clock and 4 kilometers in. Along the way, there are also zones where they will be chased by followers. If the follower catches up, they have to spend 3 minutes taking selfies with them. Again, this show.
That sounds like a silly idea, Michael.
I haven't had any backlash off Alex for encouraging people to do that last week, by the way. They seem very, very enthusiastic about it. So, keep doing it, everyone. The followers can be stopped by identifying the logo before they're caught, and Wout identifies ChatGPT.
Out of the 4 people in this group, who do you think has used ChatGPT the most?
I would guess Maxim,
Yeah, I could see that.
unless Isabel uses it like a search engine.
Ah,
I love you, Isabel. I'm really disappointed we can't meet. The better question is who's used Bumble. There was also a discussion on Café de Mol as to whether Julie walking up the steep hill was suspicious and whether it was actually faster than pedaling. And as someone who has only 6 weeks ago or so got his bike fixed and actually doing that sort of a distance again, I can guarantee she was probably faster walking if it's a hill that steep.
yeah.
It looked like a horrible steep hill.
Hmm.
And it wasn't a paved road either. It was fairly off road, that section, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was necessarily suspicious of Julie.
No.
The bigger time sucks are the mini challenges here, I would say.
Yeah. I think that road was probably a little bit too narrow for them to do like the other approach to getting up there faster, which is to like sort of zigzag backwards and forwards because it doesn't wind up being as steep, like
Yeah.
mathematically, because you're taking longer to do the same distance. So it works out a little bit flatter.
Also, she should have just gone into a lower gear
Yeah.
and sort of grinded it out.
Michael, she didn't know walk like an Egyptian. Do you think she knows bike gears?
Good point, well made. So this is also the point where Gilles does a full Jet 2 ad and says that nothing beats a Portuguese vacation.
Yeah. I mean, I like really liked the scenery this season, but I don't know if it makes me want to actually go to Portugal. Like this season, I think has been a lot of like adventure sporty sort of tasks, which are the things they didn't really get to do in Thailand or Sicily, and like that's good for making it feel distinct. But as someone who is absolutely not doing that free fall, probably not doing that zip line, certainly not getting on a tightrope and getting dressed in above an alley. I don't know whether this has made me want to actually go to Portugal.
Yeah. Well, as we've said a few times this season, the theme of the season seems to be rerunning the fun, trying to do takes on previous iconic moments that they've done on this show.
Hmm.
And I saw the argument on Discord yesterday that this episode especially feels like they're trying to sort of repair what they did with Canary Islands, because Canary Islands was meant to be themed around celebrations, isn't it great to travel again after COVID? And it felt like this was probably the most like travel porny episode, which is basically what they were trying to go for with Canary Islands before, everyone died.
Hmm.
So I wonder whether that was a conscious choice to kind of rerun the fun on Canary Islands this episode and go, let's actually prove that we can do a sort of celebration adventure porny episode for once.
Like, fun episode, fun season, but I think part of it is like a lot of the season, like because they only did one challenge in Porto, one in Lisbon. I think this season has been like a lot of like rural paddocks and those sort of locations, which is, nice in moderation, but I think maybe the balance is a little bit off. And I don't know whether that's just because they don't want it to look too similar to Sicily. Because, like Sicily, we got a lot of like narrow streets and alleys and all that sort of stuff. And like I can see you getting that mixed up with Portugal. Like if you just took a photo, I don't know whether you'd be able to necessarily tell the difference. But I think Portugal has been another character in the season. I don't know whether it's been playing itself.
Yeah, I think certainly the last few episodes has felt like they've done a lot of traveling at the back end of the season.
Yeah.
Like we obviously had one challenge in Porto, but
Hmm.
then they didn't really travel for a few episodes. It was like 2 or 3 episodes, I think,
Yeah.
before there was a significant amount of travel. And then it just feels like they are traveling every single episode
Yeah.
for the back half of the season, which is an interesting choice.
Hmm.
It feels like they wanted to sort of center it around the north of Portugal, and then they went, "Shit, we got to do more." Right, let's change every single episode for the back half of the season, which
Yeah.
isn't a problem, but it changes the vibe of the season a little bit.
Yeah.
It becomes a little more of a coach trip than an adventure necessarily. And don't get me wrong, I've loved this season. It's as good as anything they've done before.
Yeah.
And I also wonder whether another argument I saw on Facebook a few days ago is our enjoyment of the season being affected by us being on the mole so early.
Hmm.
Does knowing who the mole is on België affect your enjoyment of the season as much as it does with Vidum?
No. I would say no.
Because I've always said no on this. I've always said, even before we started podcasting this, and I know I said it in the early, maybe even in Mexico, I don't think it matters as much who the mole is in Belgium
No.
because it's the story of the group, it's the story of the adventure and the nonsense that they get up to, rather
Yeah.
than the mole being the tentpole of the season. I think Vidum lives and dies, especially now, by how good the mole is, because that then colours your enjoyment of the season a lot more because the mole is such a big part of it. Whereas, especially this season, we've not had a diary of the mole, we've not had the mole being briefed on camera at all, even disguised. Like the mole hasn't been a huge part of the season, even though it's the mole.
Yeah, like I think with Vidum, I think with Vidum, a lot of the time they make it a little bit like too easy to find them all, and then sort of you're spending like the last 6, 7 episodes being like, okay, this person is the mole. How are they sabotaging this challenge? And then you sort of don't really pay attention to anyone else. I think with this, even if you identify them all early, which I would say we've probably done if it's WoW, I think even if that happens, you're still watching the other people because there's still like other things going on, and there's always like that kernel of doubt where I think with this year's Vidum, the people who are on the mole early basically just never saw anything to really make them doubt that suspicion until it was too late. Like when they sort of did the half-assed, oh, it might be this person. I kind of like that this makes you second guess yourself a little bit.
Yeah. I will also say you're very unlucky on weekly suspicions if it is WoW, because in any other season you'd probably have run away with it, but unfortunately I've suspected him every single week.
Yeah.
I think you missed 1 week on WoW.
Yep.
Because when we get to the final 3, I prepare all the documentation for all of them, so I can just upload it on Sunday at the finale. I think I win if it's Wout or Maxim, and Saunders is the only one who's ever suspected Julie out of the 3 of us.
Jesus.
And if it's Enduja, it's definitely Saunders.
I don't know why that joke just made me laugh so much when I came up with it.
Spoilers for the end of the episode. We did say to Saunders last week, please send us a voice note before we record on Tuesday to give us your suspicions so that I can do everything together and just splice it in. He has not done it yet. So, his suspicions, if he doesn't get back to me soon enough, i.e. by the time that I finish editing this episode, is going to be an Enduja sausage.
Let's just say for like the people who aren't in this recording right now, Saunders does not win a gold medal for punctuality a lot of the time.
No, we have a concept which is Logan Saunders Time, which is
Yeah.
at about 15 minutes onto any recording time. I'm used to this because my brother is exactly the same. I go around to my mum and dad's every Sunday for a Sunday roast. We officially get there for about 6. I tend to get there between about 5:30 and 6 because, it's half a mile away at most. Mum and dad told my brother to be there for 5:45 this week because they wanted to have a chat to us about something. He did not get there until 6:05 and blamed it on the dog. Van, as soon as you say, "Do you want to go see Grandma and Grandad?" Van will get his harness on himself because he's that excited. He will genuinely go and find his harness and take it to you if you say, "Do you want to put your harness on and go see Grandma and Grandad?" I have been there when he's done it.
Aw. Hi, Van.
He's such a cutie pie. I went to the pet store for him last week because I had a discount my mum and dad didn't, and I got him some disgusting gnarly rabbit ears at their request with fur on and everything. And he had one of them. He started cheering on it, and then he's buried it somewhere in their garden. Bearing in mind, they got their garden done a few weeks ago. They have a brand new garden, and this little bastard has found a hiding spot for the rabbit ear that they've still not found, and they're probably not going to find until it starts smelling. So the second challenge is an inflatable ring and the tortilla challenge. Maxim and Julie have to identify 7 types of milk correctly to avoid having to slap each other in the face with a tortilla while the other person has a mouthful of milk. I must also point out that the actual tortilla challenge is a mouthful of water for exactly the reasons that we see in this version of the challenge.
Mm.
It looks like it was very warm in Portugal when they were there. In fact, it's the first time of the season that Gilles has been wearing shorts, which was pointed out on the behind the scenes. I suspect that Julie had to have a shower quite quickly after this challenge,
Yeah.
because that will not have been coconut milk that he was spitting in her face.
Well, not entirely coconut milk.
Yeah, Maxim, for some reason, finds it absolutely hilarious to spray Julie liberally in the face whenever he spits his milk out.
I mean, kind of.
Oh, it's hilarious. But I would feel a bit mean if it was me doing it because, they still had like 10 kilometers at that point, probably. She would have stank of stale, gone off milk. And there's not a lot of worse smells.
Of course you'd feel mean about spitting on Julie's face. You've got to meet her next week.
Very true. I have to say these things and I have to be on my best behavior now. I will also say Elijah claimed on Discord right before we started recording that I don't like Julian Maxim. I like Julian Maxim. I just like everyone else in the final 7 a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's happened quite a few times where I've gone to the finale, gone, I'm not that enthusiastic to talk to these people necessarily, and they have
Yeah.
been thoroughly charming. So I'm
Yeah.
expecting Julian Maxim to be thoroughly charming.
And a hello to Michelle and Alexi.
No, I liked Michelle. Alexi, I wasn't sure about because we didn't really see him in the episodes. I didn't know what he was going to be like, and he was thoroughly charming.
I wonder if they're doing like the same thing they did last year, where they tried hiding the finalists a little bit to like make them seem a little bit more suspicious when it was sort of fairly obvious that they weren't them all.
Yeah, I mean, I can't talk. I was blinded by Michelle last year, but
Hmm.
I never thought he was Alexi, at least.
Yeah.
Whereas this year, all of my eggs have been in the wet basket, I would say. So they end up giving up after quite a few attempts and an entire shower of milk for Julie. And they've got 5 kilometers and 25 minutes left on the clock. And they don't know the logo for Bumble, and as a result, have to take selfies for 3 minutes.
Did you know the logo for Bumble?
Yes, because it's a hive, and I couldn't think of any other bee themed apps that they would probably talk about. I wouldn't have been certain, but it was an educated guess.
Yeah.
Because it has to be, I mean, not to go too behind the curtain, it has to be the sort of app that most people are going to have seen in the news,
Yeah.
and that 350-year-olds could have identified if they were still in the game. It has to be something that was reasonably famous, I would say. It wasn't going to be an obscure app. It might have been an obscure Flemish app, but it wasn't going to be an obscure app generally.
And the problem is Grindr is more famous for like its notification sound than the logo.
Very true. So the final challenge is crowdsurfing, and for all 4 of them, one of them has to ride a surfboard over a 15-meter course, rolling entirely on the backs of the other 3. This is not a challenge.
No,
Well, it is a challenge, but it is not a viral challenge.
this is just them being silly. Just come up with something they need all four people for, and they loved
Yeah, no one has ever done the surfboard challenge.
it. But they will now.
I must admit, when they said viral challenges, I was fully expecting Ice Bucket Challenge, as I said. I was also expecting one of them to have to do the cinnamon challenge.
Mm,
Because again, that's the sort of thing they would do on this show.
yeah. I mean, spoilers for next season in Morocco.
Morocco would be a great location, to be fair.
Yeah.
If they're going to do something that's sort of reasonably near,
Mm.
all jokes aside, I think Saunders is actually in Morocco at the moment.
My apologies to Morocco.
If they were going to do something reasonably near, then Morocco would be one of the better choices.
Mm.
So, they arrive with less than 3 minutes and discover what the composition of the photo should be. One person on the surfboard, one person with the kite in the air, and someone making a heart with their hands framing the surfboard. The photo takes, and Gilles brings them a picnic, and they earned the €1,000 for the photo and another €1,000 for the kite, but no €1,000 for Wout being visible on the surfboard.
And that's mostly because Julie takes up half the frame.
Yes.
I love that, like, she does that and she's smiling like she knows she's in the frame.
Yeah. I mean, that, even if Wout isn't the mole, which he is, that is probably the hardest of the positions, which is
Yeah.
probably why Wout wanted that one.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of get away with it.
Yeah, it's the easiest one to hide.
Yeah. So it's day 17 in Portimao, and everyone is getting good with the hula hoop. And we are reminded that the hula hoop will be worth a lot of money next episode. They are heading to Albufeira, a city known for its nightlife, and Isabel spots a structure in the distance and is 100% correct that that is what they are heading towards. Gilles says he has fantastic news. They can ring home with a fantastic view and win money at the same time. However, they can only use one-syllable words, and when they make a mistake, they will drop from the tower, free fall, 50 meters up.
Absolutely fucking not.
Correct. Absolutely fucking not. I would never want to do this in a million years. You could not pay me €1,000 to do this challenge.
Can't wait for the freefall challenge on TikTok next year.
It did make me laugh on Café de Mol that Isabel's like, yeah, I didn't particularly want to do it, but there was peer pressure involved, and I never say no to peer pressure. Like, everything we wanted Isabel to be, she is 100% on Café de Mol. It's well worth watching Café de Mol just for her, and just for her being a delight. So Maxim is the first person, and he gets to actually call his brother Gilles.
The real Jill or the fake Jill?
Oh, it would have been such a good joke if they ended up FaceTiming with Mikhail's nephew again. It would have been so funny if they just brought him up as a joke. But no, we actually get to see his real brother. And to be fair, the likeness between him and Fake Gilles wasn't terrible. I could see what they were going for.
Yeah.
I could see what they were going for with Henri and Alexis as well, to be honest.
How would you have done at the bit where you had to talk with words that have one sound? I'll take my €140, please.
I would have done no. 4 is the answer.
And that's the end of that joke.
Yeah, I would have done bad. 5. There we go. The best thing is the loved ones have no idea what's about to happen. All they are told is that their loved ones will be calling. Nothing else. Because Anais is asked that in Café de Mol. And she's like, yeah, I just thought Mum was being really weird.
She has met her mum, right?
Yeah. It did turn into basically everyone in the panel just going, Anais, you do realise you've got a really cool mum, right? Like, she's a badass. So they have 2 lives, and when they make 3 mistakes, they fall, and Maxim falls after €240. Isabel, on her way up, actually asks if anyone's died doing this, which is a question you should always ask when you're about to be winched 50 meters up a structure.
I love that she does not get an answer for that as well. Like, that's comforting.
She just gets a shrug. Wout drops at €460, presumably so his wife can see what's going to happen, because it's right after she asks what's going to happen when you fail. Julie drops at 810, ironically, after her boyfriend asks when she's going to fall. And Isabel drops on exactly €1,000 for a total of €2,510 of 6,000 for the challenge. I'm kind of roughly guessing at that. I'm assuming Isabel was close to the maximum, if not on the maximum. €4,960 of 14,000 for the episode, and 19,130 of 98,600 for the season so far.
Stupid question.
Hmm.
Is it cold in the land where you live?
I think that's when Anais realised that her mum was earning money for doing one silver words there. And the best thing is, even after she fails and drops, Isabel still does one syllable words for like the next 2 minutes after she's talking to the group.
I think my favorite bit of it is they sort of imply that rain and like shitty weather is like the least Belgian thing. I'm like, you live in Belgium. Like,
Yeah.
you are used to rain.
Yeah, I mean, not to lead the witness in any way, shape, or form, but Saunders and I have been to 4 finales in Antwerp together, and it has bucketed down, I want to say 3 of those 4 finales when we've been walking back to the hotel.
Good work, global warming.
Yeah, the forecast when I looked a few days ago was heavy thunderstorms on Sunday. It's now dry apparently until about 2 o'clock, and we should be in Kinepolis by that point. So it might not be terrible this year, but last year was the first time that it had not rained in 4 visits to Antwerp.
This has been your Belgian weather report.
So it is now time for the test. 20 questions about the identity and actions of the mole. Whoever knows least goes home except for the mole who can never go home. Those who survive this execution will be the final 3 and get the honour of meeting me and Saunders on Sunday.
Well, the honour of meeting you.
Yeah, that's why Isabel threw this test. She just didn't want to meet me.
Yeah.
Maxim says it's not the only time he's gone all in. This time he hopes he's on the right mole. The mole would want to waste as much time as possible. Julie's very athletic but struggled on the bike. He was the only one in the right place on the photo, and it's hard to pinpoint who messed up. Isabel said Maxim had talked about being scared of heights all season long, and now he managed to only bring in €300 on that challenge. Maxim and Julie took longer than she and Wout did, but they got more grief from the other 2. Julie says Wout only said 40 words. She thinks he listened a lot and didn't say much himself. Maxim kept answering wrong and wanted to keep on going in the tortilla challenge, and he kept spitting directly in her face. And Wout says Maxim and Isabel didn't see the attacker. There was no warning, and that cost them time. Gilles says it's not a nice moment. It's time for the final goodbye of the season. They are a wonderful bunch. They don't know who the mole is yet, but they do know who's going to be in the finale. Maxim gets the 1 green screen, despite my chanting of red, 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 before Isabel is sent packing.
Aww.
Honestly, I had tears of how I wanted this to go. It was, I needed Wout to be in the finale, obviously. Then I wanted Isabel to be in the finale, so I was genuinely quite gutted that she went.
Yeah. Who would you have wanted to get eliminated? Bearing in mind that you will have to talk to that person next week.
Maxim, obviously. There's a few reasons. One is Elijah really, really suspects him, and I want to be super smug.
That doesn't sound like you at all.
I've said this to Elijah already. He's going to the finale on Sunday as well. If Maxim is not the mole and is the loser of the season, as I suspect, I am going to be unbearable when I see him.
Yeah. You do have resting smug face.
Yeah. I am going to have to work on my poker face for when we watch the finale early, because I am probably going to bump into people and not have to give anything away as to whether I am right. Gilles says the game is over to her. She thinks that it's really impressive because she thought she only had 1 question wrong. She must have been completely wrong. He describes her as very strategic, and she says the cycling was her highlight. On the behind the scenes, we actually see that when she rings home, she rings Anais, and she starts crying because she thought she'd let her kids down. And on Café de Mol, Anais actually said, "No, we told you, as long as you survive 3 episodes, you're not going to let us down. You nearly got to the finale. That's awesome."
I'm going to miss Isabel.
Yeah, so am I. She's really fun. Spoilers for my chat with Gilles. I'm going to inevitably chat about how awesome Isabel is and how we need more casting like her because she was awesome.
Yeah.
I think there's a genuine argument for Isabel being certainly one of the best older women we've ever seen on this show in terms of entertainment.
Yeah. Like, I know you thought Giannis was the star of the season. I think it's Isabel.
I think it's very interesting that Giannis and Isabel were both the most competitive people of the season and they went back to back.
Hmm.
I think this boot order in the last half of the season has been rough.
Yep.
I think if we'd had a final four that was, say, Isabel, Giannis, Dries, and Wout, that would have probably been a contender for the best final four ever in terms of entertainment.
I mean, the boot order at the end of the season has been rough, but also the boot order at the start of the season was hilarious. just from a Logan Saunders sucks perspective.
Yeah, I mean, ignoring the fact that Saunders had not even a clusterfuck. I think we need another level for how Saunders performed at the start of the season. Ignoring all of that, I think we had a potential for one of the strongest entertainment wise Final Fours ever this season. And unfortunately, a lot of them fell by the wayside in the last few weeks. But remember her as she was, which is fucking iconic.
Yeah.
Like, Isabel was by far the most entertaining person on Café de Mol this season,
Yep.
including the people who were paid to be there.
Including Dennis.
Don't make me do Dennis jokes because I might accidentally bump into him.
Yes, but I won't.
I've done enough ragging on him at the start of the season that he probably wouldn't have heard. I mean, let's be honest, he's never heard of Trust Nobody. He's not going to have heard of us, but Gilles is shit stereo. He might introduce us. So, next time, the final three head to their endpoints. There is paintball, tiles, hula hoops, basketballs, the mackerel or Macarena, and one of them is revealed as the mole.
And most importantly, Gilles gets caught red-handed.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. On the pool, we knew it was going to happen eventually, but after 7 weeks, Bindles has lost his first team member in Isabel, leaving him with just Julian and Maxim going into the finale. And my hopes still all rest on Wout. 3 people, last week's leader Tim, Natalie, and our very own Bindles, had Isabel as their first suspicion, while Horseboy surprises us all by being the only person to have her in the bottom 2. For the third time in 3 weeks, we have another new leader as Euron storms into the lead with a score of 11. On the other end of the scale, it's a lot closer than it has been, as Brian and Abe are bringing up the rear with a score of 18. Thanks to Isabel going, Saunders is now tied with you on 13 points, while I take a 1-point lead into the finale with 12. Your team now has an average of 5.10, while mine is 4.4. And on the adjusted scores, yours is 2.03 of 3, and mine is 1.93. Maxim is still the most suspicious on 1.53, then Wout on 1.93, and Julie on 2.53. There is also still 2 people who are on for a perfect finish, one on Wout as Mole and Julie as winner, and one on Maxim as Mole and Wout as winner.
I can't believe I'm tied with fucking Horseboy on anything.
I know, I deliberately didn't tell you this today because I've known all day that you were tied with him. He had Isabel in 11th place after week 1. So that is basically the main reason that he was last for the first 4 weeks of the season.
Well, that and losing his entire team. And, everything else.
Yeah. And you can give us your suspicions by playing Suspect List at suspectlist.rtbwarriors.com or the link in our bio. This is the final week of the Suspect List. This is your chance to use your Yoker, use it or lose it. The bonus question, as I have warned you, is who's going to win the season?
Mm-hmm.
Flanders' suspicions last week were Wout in first place for the first time this season on 29%, up 6. Maxim on 25, up 8. Isabel on 24, down 4. And Julie on 21, up 6. And the Café de Mol suspicions, as I've already said, were Julie on 35, Wout on 34, and Maxim on 31. Final 2 questions of the season. What are your suspicions and who's going to win?
I mean, unsurprisingly, it's probably Wout, Julie, Maxim for suspicions. I kind of just want to say Maxim just to fuck with Fuzzy's bingo square, but I won't be that nasty this time. I do think Julie's winning, because I think if Maxim's gone all in on multiple people, I think he's probably later to the Wout party than Julie is. And I think Julie's probably had more time to focus and sort of memorize her answers and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Or that could just be a big misdirect, and it turns out, he went all in on, I don't know, Christoph in week 1.
Yeah, very true. I'm going to surprise everyone.
No, you're not. You're going to say Wout.
I'm going to say Wout's the Mole. Obviously, I was just going to, until you spoiled the joke, I was genuinely going to claim I was going to say Maxim. Yeah, it's It's wow, Julie Maxim for me, and Julie is winner as well,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Again, if Wout's the mole, regardless of what happens on suspect list, because I may or may not have fucked up on one of the questions, I get a clean sweep on first suspicions. I get a clean sweep on our suspicions as well, which is all I can ask for going into a finale where I have to face the cackle master himself.
His name is Logan Saunders.
Oh no, he won't be laughing. Because the first thing I'm going to tell Jill is that Saunders had 5 of the first 6 boots in his team. I will say, I think it's very interesting how Maxim played this episode.
Yeah.
Because if you look at this episode knowing that Maxim claimed that he had gone all in a few times and been wrong, and people had got executed, I wonder whether Maxim was deliberately fucking up constantly to try and lead someone astray, thinking he was in a weak position. Because if Isabel didn't say she went all in, she probably did, but maybe she chucked a couple of questions on Maxim, and that's what got her sent home.
Maybe.
Because there were a few interesting potential sabotages from Maxim this week that we saw. And as a general, we don't see that many sabotages during the season. And we saw 2 big ones from Maxim this week. So I don't think he's the mole, but I think he was trying to buy himself a bit of buffer this week.
Yeah, I think if we weren't like so confident or was wow, just from like the clues and all of that sort of stuff, I think this would be one of those seasons where we just have like no idea at all. Like because the other two have been suspicious enough that you can kind of get away with like a three-way edit compared to say the Euro season where I knew from week one it took you like 5 weeks to get on board the train.
I was still right in the end, and that's all that matters.
Well, didn't win first suspicions, did you?
As I've said this season, my one goal is to be right in the end so that Gilles cannot laugh at me. Everything else is a bonus.
But yeah, like I think there's some seasons where you can rule out the other two finalists pretty early, and I think they've been lucky that they haven't been able to do that this season. But in the same way, I think Wout has been like a little bit like too obvious as a mole. Even though it's not really his fault or the clue's fault or whatever, there's just something that's made it feel like there hasn't really been a lot of, I guess, competition for suspicions, even though like the other people have been suspicious and Wout sort of hasn't really been like over the top as a mole. But like how sometimes there's just like a vibe.
Yeah, I mean it was entirely in week 1 based on vibes, being honest. If Wout is the mole, I'm not gonna lie, I got very lucky in week 1 that I got the right vibes. But also, that happened with Germany, so I do occasionally trust my gut. I do think it's very interesting that the final 3 has basically ended up with people who were quite heavily suspected in week 1, because there was the theory that Maxim was in the center on all the horizontal crucifixes. So there was a theory that X in the center was a clue for Maxim because he was in the center and they were all in the shapes of X's. There's been a clue with the letter J, which people have interpreted to be Julie, but also can relate to Wout because Gardner in Portuguese begins with a J. It's Jardinho, I think it is. Jardinero. And then with Wout, obviously, not just his hero positions and then fucking up all the time, but also the garden proverbs did continue this week. There was another Gardner proverb this week. So I'm pretty confident that it's Wout, but I am well aware that my history with going to Kinipolis and seeing the finale early almost always ends with someone walking through the fog and me going, ah, fuck.
And then she was coming up like 3 seconds later just to laugh in your ear.
Well, last year's introduction was, who am I laughing at this year then?
Yeah.
Please ask that again, Jill, if it is Wout who's the mole, so I can go, him. He's the fuck up this year.
Turns out there is one thing that beats a Jet 2 holiday.
Yep. And final thing for this episode, as I've already said in this one, please, please, please send in your questions if you've got anything you want us to ask to Jill, Julie, Maxim, or Wout. We will try and ask as many as we can. If you send in questions, it saves me from being really awkward. So please do.
Well, won't save you, but it'll protect you a little bit.
Yeah, it minimizes the awkwardness. I don't have to ask any particularly awkward questions. if you send interesting ones in. Anything else to say?
I'm good.
Cool. In that case, thank you for listening to our Mol België Season 14 recap. We'll be back on Tuesday for Diary of a Mole Finale 5, before we return next Thursday to recap the finale proper and find out who the newest mole in Portugal is. Don't forget you can contact us on pretty much every social media platform that isn't TikTok, because we're too busy, not watching What Like an Egyptian, where we are RTV Warriors, or you can email us at contact@rtvwarriors.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors, and give us your suspects for the final week by playing Suspect List at the link in our bio. Thank you, as always, to the Legion of Subtitlers. We'll see you next week.
Those aren't plums, but I did not say take your hands off.
Thank you, Matt Barr.
I think if there were 4 of me and just one of those Portuguese child Ronaldos, I think I still would have lost the game. And as much as I would love to give my suspect list using just one-syllable words, Julie is still my first suspect, although the evidence against Wout is getting really, really exponential at this point. But I'm really hoping and praying that Michael loses again, and then Maxim is my bottom suspect. Anyways, keep on Moroccan in the free world.